Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
Oh, welcome to the show. Today is Tuesday and this is going out on Mintwave Radio. You can ask Alexa or go to mintwave-radio.com. If this is via podcast, then same website. You can actually look up all the other available podcasts on our network. You can download the app for Apple and Android. Feel free to subscribe to any of them that take your fancy, follow or leave a comment. Now, today's episode is 158. And today we have Aline, who is a spiritual guide, healer, writer, facilitator, and we're going to be talking about mindfulness versus meditation. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, helping coaches and therapists to get their message heard to the people who need to hear it. So Aline's work is supporting her clients to establish solid foundations for spiritual growth and soul fulfillment. The pillars of her work are joy, presence, clarity, connection, and devotion. Solid foundations means strength, coherence, authority, and cohesion. She guides her clients so that they have a path instead of shooting with disconnected practices all the time. For her, spirituality is practical and grounded in everyday life and leads to empowerment and liberation. She says joy is our essence. So welcome to the show, Aline.
Thank you for having me, Karen. So happy to be here today. And thank you for the lovely presentation.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit more.
Yes.
If you'd like to, first of all, share with the audience a little bit more about your personal story and how you came to be doing what you're currently doing.
So I started on my spiritual path quite early in life in a very unorthodox way when I was a teenager. I also had a pretty normal life in a way. I went to business school and had a normal job for a long time and had this parallel life that I think is quite normal these days. Actually, many of us feel like we're breaking ourselves into so many different roles. And it's all about going back to who am I really? So in my path, I started studying energy and what is it this place really is. I went through a series of mystical experiences when I was a teenager that brought this question really up big in my head. I could see reality was so much more than what everybody else could see. And that drove me to start questioning what is this place. So for a long time, I was mainly interested in the mystical aspect of it and understanding what this place is and how to work with energy and not really linking it with well-being. And I kept on going on my business school studies and working office life, normal thing, until I had my own breakdown, so to speak, in my late 20s of finding myself in careers that I didn't really want to have. It was not the life I wanted to live. And that was the first time that I was brought into this more personal development and self-care perspective of spirituality. And that's where my whole perspective shifted of all the things that I already knew. I was just not using it for necessarily my joy. They were more focusing only on my curiosity at a mental level, so to speak. At that point that I actually had a breakdown, that it became, how can I heal my own suffering? How can I go back to myself? What is it that I want? That was the moment that I went full on and left my job, my relationship, my home, and went all into spirituality and understanding this high practicality of it, because it is to make our lives better, for us to manifest our dream life and our reality, and not a hobby. It's not about sitting and meditating outside to cope with reality. It's not about escaping a reality we don't want. It is about aligning ourselves back to ourselves again, so we can be here full on, in full presence, in full joy, in full connection, doing what we came here to do.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. So that was quite a brave step to actually leave everything. So you didn't do anything gradually. Is that what you're saying? You literally just walked away from your job?
It was gradually, in the sense that I didn't leave everything at once. I first left my job thinking it's fine. I just need like 2, 3 months on my own to figure this out here in my home and with my friends. And then I realized, no, I actually cannot stay here in the city. This is also not my home. It's not also right for me to live here anymore. So then I left my home and I kept my relationship like distance for a while, for a few months, until I got to the point that, okay, this is actually part of what I have to leave behind. So I did it progressively. It was not like I woke up one day and left everything, which allowed me to have the clarity of all these different things that were not working. Sometimes we leave everything behind, but it's not necessary that everything is not working. It's so creating this awareness, this possibility of seeing things for what they truly are. Sometimes they require distance and time.
Still a brave step to make. So for many people, isn't it, that it's fear that stops them going for the things that are in more of an alignment with them,
Yeah.
because the safety aspect, this perception of safety, right? Because it's not necessarily a truth, but
No.
having that sort of safety blanket to then go out there and do something different. Do you think that's what was holding you back in the beginning? Having that sort of safety net of having a
Yeah.
job to then go and pursue something that you feel is more in an alignment with your values and
Yeah.
everything. Is that what held you back personally?
I would rather say it was fear. I think safety is a side effect of fear. And at the same time, we all need safety. We all need some kind of stability, but the understanding that we are our own safety, the safety comes within for being fine with ourselves and trusting ourselves is a different kind of safety than needing things from the outside that are actually based on fear. And the tricky thing here is that we have so much fear that is disguised in so many things. And the moment we feel fear, we disconnect. Fear and worry and hatred are like number one disconnection things. If we are acting out of them, we are by default not listening to our hearts and to spirit. So, yeah, in a
So
society
how did
based on
you
fear,
find, yeah, how did you find that ability to, like you said, trust,
yeah,
is having that real inner trust that you're going to be okay? Because, and how was that? Was that that must have taken a bit of practice to
yeah.
actually get to that place of having full belief in yourself and knowing, having that inner knowledge of, yeah, being able to trust that everything is going to be okay, everything's going to work out, you are in alignment with what you want to do.
Yeah, trust is a major skill to develop, and it is a skill we can train it. And it has different sides of it. One is the ability to listen, right? Because many people cannot even hear their hearts. So we first need to listen. And once we listen, sometimes we listen, but we don't trust it, right? We discard it. We're still scared of what we're listening because it goes against all the fear based activities that we're led to do naturally. So trust comes a lot from self love, but it also comes from our own learnings, seeing what happens when we trust and what we don't trust. We have to observe the results, the fruits of our work, because we all have moments that we have trusted and moments we had not trusted. So seeing the difference, seeing the results, that is how we learn in practice and not keep on repeating the same mistakes. So the ability to listen, self-love is crucial, and learning from our own actions. Yeah.
And so this is also going to come out of taking time out, like you mentioned earlier about self-care, but also, as the topic of today's show is the difference between mindfulness and meditation. How important are, first of all, explain the difference, and then what would be the number one thing to help us work through this?
Mindfulness and meditation can be linked. They can support each other, but they don't necessarily have to be linked. Meditation is much more profound. Many of the things that we call meditation are not actually meditation. And we can have a whole discussion about that for a different podcast. But mindfulness is really about our ability to be present. And it is in that presence here, now, not in the past, not in the future, that we get to rejoice and live. Joy only exists in the present moment. And it is true that we can also have suffering and many things that we are avoiding in the present moment, because that is one of the reasons why we don't want to be in the present moment, because we are running away from certain things we're scared of. That doesn't mean they will feel that bad. Our fear is very good at amplifying everything, but we're pretty good at not being here now. And that is what mindfulness is, this ability to connect to what is happening now, be eating, fully rejoicing in the food we're having, be showering, connecting to the water, be being with our loved ones and not thinking about having to do the dishes or what we have to do tomorrow. Is that ability to just, okay, I'm here. And it's not like we cannot plan and think about what we have to do tomorrow. It is about setting a specific time for that and not getting caught up on that when we're supposed to be out doing other things, because we don't have control of where our mind is. And that is the problem. Our mind is controlling us. And in mindfulness, we're regaining control of our mind by choosing deliberately, I want to stay here and I'm going to be here and I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to live. The only moment I can live is now. Meditation can greatly help with that, but we don't have to meditate to be mindful and present. We can have all these small exercises of just doing what we already do more fully and more present. Does that make
Would you
sense?
say they are? Yeah, I do see it as separate things. Like meditation for me, so my meaning or what I see it as is when I'm meditating, I'm almost going out there or to trying to get out there, and I call it just practicing being. So I suppose that's the mindfulness of being in the present moment is actually, it's actually the opposite, because it really is about just quietening, not just verbally, so me being quiet, but also mentally, and that just being in the present moment. To yeah, I get it that they can intertwine, but yeah, for me personally, I do see them as very separate
That's
things.
good. Yeah.
And like you say, it's almost, yes, we need, obviously we thinking is a tool that we can use, but and I'm only saying from my experience because I am a woman. I don't know whether us women do it more because of we feel the perception is that we've got to multitask. So we could be doing one thing and thinking and planning about something else, and it's this. Whereas when we do bring these practices into our daily routine, and like you say, there's a time to think and plan, and then when you are actually present in the moment, things flow a lot easier, don't they?
Yeah. And it's beautiful that you said about this thinking and planning part, as because it connects to what we were talking about before. A lot of this overthinking and planning actually comes from a place of fear and worry. Fear and worries that we don't necessarily need to be scared of and worry about. We just need to be conscious that at some point I need to plan tomorrow and I can put it on my schedule and plan it at that time. But we cannot control our fear and we cannot control our worries, which keep on disconnecting us even further. So by being present in this moment here now, by gaining control over our minds, we also get to have much more control and self-master in terms of our fears and worries. We become less dramatic.
I suppose it goes back to, like you said earlier, about the trust. It's, do we have where we are trying to do all these multiple things, and then when we are with our kids, we're still worrying about work or thinking about, is this down to the almost, there's a distrust in our own ability to even remember to do the things, isn't it? Does that make sense?
I think we got used to, we almost got addicted to fear and worry without realizing. And this is a part of our ego. And our ego's own mission is to make us suffer and not make things easy. So it's a lot about dissociating from this worry and fear and understanding that this worry and fear is not you. You are light. You're much more peaceful than you think you are. And it takes ability to experience that through seeing that you can be here now. And you can say to that voice, not now, not the time. Now I'm going to enjoy my piece of chocolate fully and fully rejoice in all the tastes that it gives me and all the sensations, instead of doing things that we love. Because we do this all the time. We do things we love being somewhere else. Like we order the pizza and start watching a movie, talking to somebody else, be on our phones. It's okay, what was the point of ordering that again? Didn't I want to enjoy it and appreciate it? So we cut ourselves from the possibility of rejoicing in things that we love all the time. Because it's not about what we do, it's about how we do. And the how is the mindfulness way. Is like just be present with it fully. Allow it to be.
Yeah. And then quite often what we can do, if we have ordered something that's pizza or something that may not be necessarily the most healthiest thing, is then we actually don't enjoy it so much because we're beating ourselves up for it and feeling feelings of guilt and shame. Oh, I really shouldn't have eaten, which it's destroyed the whole point of doing it in the first place. Yes, it's interesting. We're funny creatures, aren't we?
We are super special creatures.
It is when you step back, because look, like I do that just like everybody else, but isn't it interesting when you actually take a step back and look at it and think, yeah, actually that makes no sense at all. Why were you doing that? But many people struggle to meditate because I suppose, like you said just then, about we have become almost addicted to the fear of things, and this is why anxiety and stress is coming in. Why are so many people so self-conscious about if they are struggling to meditate? Because again, so you've got a contradiction there. You want to meditate and then you're aware that you're struggling to meditate, so you're beating yourself up for not being able to meditate. Again, where is this?
The meditation is amazing. As a spiritual guide, I give meditation exercises all the time for my clients. It's just the purpose of meditation is very much misunderstood. It is a tool of purification of the mind, and it can take us very far. It's just that it's not necessarily what we need for everything. And the thing is, meditation is super hyped, right? Any kind of blog posts that you see, 10 best things that successful people do, it has meditation there, and it becomes this thing that people think they have to do. And there is like this expectation, this social expectation, like successful people meditate, everybody tells me to meditate, meditation is going to solve everything. And then it becomes this thing that is just another thing to achieve, another thing to tell people that we do. It's distorted and we lose it by doing that as well. And then it comes a lot about why are we doing things? Because I know many people, if I ask, because when I tell people that I teach meditation, a lot of people get self-conscious. And they don't get self-conscious about other things that I do. If people, when you are in a dinner party and people will ask you, what do you do? And I'll tell them, I teach meditation and I teach yoga and I'm a spiritual guide and I also write and I used to work with marketing. Nobody's self-conscious about not working with marketing or not writing. But the meditation aspect really triggers people. I see this a lot, that many people think they have to meditate and they feel bad about not meditating, which is a bit just another layer of social expectations that we have created on something that we should do out of self-love and not to just cope with social,
So they feel it's a chore, as it's just something extra to do, and I'm so busy and I don't have time to do this, or I can't do this. It flips the whole point of getting the benefit from meditating. So how would you help them overcome this? Because again, this is just a story they're telling themselves. So how would you help them overcome that?
If somebody wants to meditate and is struggling with that, which is pretty much everybody. So my approach to this is a yoga approach, because the reason why people cannot meditate is a lot. I can do a whole 3 pages list of why people cannot meditate. It hurts their body. They want to move. They get anxious. Their mind starts thinking about something else. They get an emotional reaction of something they're trying to avoid and they don't know what to do. It's like it goes on and on. It's so multi-layered. And today in the world, what is most normal in terms of learning meditation is a Buddhist approach. Buddha just sits and meditate, and you just force it and push it through. You sit and do it on and on until you get to do it, which is pretty much hustling, if you think about it. It is like a struggle. Just put all your energy there. It depletes people. It is not a good strategy. I honestly do not believe in that strategy. What is the way I see it? I'm also a yoga teacher, and you rarely see me in a yoga studio teaching yoga asanas. That is not how I teach yoga. Yoga is an incredibly rich spiritual system, and it is designed to teach people to meditate. That is one of the main points of yoga, because that is how we get the union of yoga with spirit and with our higher selves. Asanas, the postures of yoga, are a very small part of yoga. There are so many different areas of yoga, from codes of conduct to how we breathe, to how we can better concentrate, to how we withdraw our senses. It's a whole system, understanding all the difficulties people have meditating and giving them specific exercises to go one by one, clearing themselves of their difficulties one by one. You don't go to a yoga class and normally go for a 30-minute meditation. You take care of your body. Why? Because you are opening your body so that you can sit longer, so you can start resting. So yoga is not a physical exercise modality. It has been highly distorted in the Western world. The whole yoga practice, which is, again, positions, physical exercises, very small part of what yoga is. It is a system to allow people to sit and meditate. So that is the system that I use.
And I suppose that comes from, like you said earlier, then many people will resist meditation because they feel that their joints are maybe stiff or they're uncomfortable sitting in that position. So I suppose what I'm getting, and I'm not a yoga instructor, I used to teach body balance, which is a mixture of yoga, tai chi, so very base level. But I suppose from my point of view, looking at that would be because you are moving the body in such a way or holding certain poses or you're opening the body. So to increase flexibility so that you can then get into a comfortable position and stay there in alignment so that it doesn't. Is that sort of the combination part of it to allow
Yes.
that opening of the body so that you can, because maybe when we were children and we sat cross-legged, sat on the floor when we were at primary school, and then obviously because of our conditioning and our society we've moved to sitting at a desk and everything's designed to shorten, and then to get somebody who's been living and working in a corporate environment for years, so they're back stiff and they're rounded over, to then go into, okay, go and sit in a cross-legged position and meditate for an hour. No chance.
Yeah, exactly. That is a huge aspect of it. And another aspect is that the practice itself also purifies our bodies and create this spaciousness so that energy can flow through us, because if we are contracted, energy doesn't get to flow. So there is an energetic as well, but definitely all that our bodies need to be mastered and so that we can actually sit and meditate. Another aspect of yoga that is really big these days and getting more and more attention is the breathing exercises, because many people are shallow breathers, and when you shallow breathing, you get anxious, you get more easily worried and scared. So the ability to control your breath, because that is what pranayama means, is actually, it's not breath exercise, it's breath control, allows you to self-regulate. Do I need more energy now, or do I need to rest? And you get all these tools to allow to self-manage, and then your anxiety doesn't get you because you become a master of your anxiety.
That's why I suppose it is such a holistic approach, because you are dealing with the mind, the body, and the spirit
Yes.
all in one. And within the, I suppose, then the aspect of that will allow you then to be comfortable to practice that being or meditating. So what, with regards to, obviously it's a very spiritual practice as well that some people take on board, others don't. But why is presence, being present, so important in spirituality?
It is when we're present that we can connect to ourselves, when we can know who we are and our purpose and listen to our intuition. It is when we're present. Present is not only being here now, present also means being empty, not with your mind carrying you somewhere else. When you're empty, you get to receive. Nothing gets to come in your life. It's already full. You don't get to have more furniture. You can have more furniture in a cluttered apartment if you want, but then it's your madhouse. The idea of being present is the idea of I'm empty, I'm here, and I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to create. I'm ready to let things flow out of me as well, because that is how I get empty. I don't allow things to stagnate and stay there in me, like healing me. The only way to be empty is, okay, I'm here to receive, but I'm also here to give. And then we allow things to flow through us and nothing stagnates.
That makes lots of big, because we fill it all up with all of the thoughts. So again, it's all the ego mind. It's all the creating stories, and like you say, remembering something that happened yesterday or this morning, or worrying about something. So all this being held up here in the mind is cutting us off. So actually, no wonder we can't hear the messages from spirit, because we're too busy with this constant chatter of the mind, rather than actually sitting still and allowing.
And another side of that is the importance of developing discernment, because when we are present, when without space, we're just reacting on things. We react on our fears, we react on our worries, on our hatred. Like, we don't take that step back. When you are empty, it's much easier to take that step back and think, okay, what is actually right in this situation? And not keep on reacting, because when we are reacting on things, we're living as robots. We are on autopilot mode. We're not using our hearts and our consciousness. And that is what presence allows you to do. That's what I even mean by connecting to yourself. We are able to receive things from our higher self and from our intuition and our spirit. And we are also able to discern for ourselves what is best in this situation. What does this situation require of me? Instead of being victims of our emotional reactions.
And that seems to be the common theme, is that many people are, like you say, we're on autopilot for the majority of our days. So we're running background programs consistently, because again, we've been conditioned that way. We've been conditioned through school to think everything's got to be, I'm in control, whereas we're not. That's a myth. But we've got to remember all these things. And again, I suppose that's why we get into this habit as we become adults to, we've got to control this, rather than actually and trusting that we've got this. There's not our subconscious. It is quite a fascinating thing, because there's so many things going on automatically, even when we sleep, and we trust our inner, whatever you want to call it. There is a system running, whether you're spiritual or not, whether you're a religious person or not. You have to admit something is running the background programming. Thank goodness, because you would have forgotten to breathe. I'd be dead in a millisecond.
I'm not sure how that hasn't happened yet.
But we don't trust it for other things, because it's been conditioned out of us through the school system, through just society. We've forgotten that we're okay. We've got this inner, whatever you want to call it, source, spirit, universe, God, whatever you name it, it doesn't matter. It's all one and the same. But it's just a fascinating thing that we've somehow, it's been not been switched off. It's never switched off, but we got so busy that we don't hear it.
And I think that's by design, right? It's people that can hear, people that are connected are very empowered. They're very hard to manipulate and be free. That is the concept of freedom. It's not necessarily like we think about freedom externally, but it's mostly freedom within us, freedom from our mind, freedom from reacting to our emotions, freedom from all these things that we took in by osmosis, all these things that have conditioned us. And that is how we see who we really are, by stripping this down. Like, we're not that mind saying, go do this, go do that, it's time for this. That's just not us.
And it is, it is very empowering, because it's okay. You're okay. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. You just need to trust.
And I mean, sometimes it's also asking ourselves, what is the worst that can happen? Truly, what is the worst that can happen? Like, when I quit my job and I kept going for quite a while not knowing, I thought, okay, the worst that can happen is that I need to live in a friend's place for a while. Thank God I have friends. But when we really think about, okay, the worst that can happen is that I have to get a job at like a lower job than I ever had before, but I'll make it. I think sometimes we get very dramatic, thinking the world is going to end, and no, it might take you a year to get your feet back together, but you're going to get it.
And that is it. We do create these stories of the worst possible outcome, worst case scenario all the time. But I suppose that is just our mind. It's the ego again, trying to keep us safe. Yeah, it does have a role to play. But like you say, it's about, is it controlling you? Or do you see it as it's a tool and you don't actually have to listen?
You don't have to listen.
You don't have to listen. Listen to that inner voice.
The job of the ego is not to keep you safe. That is a consequence of its job. The job of the ego is to not allow you to know who you are, because it's keeping you too busy to see who you are and what you want and what your heart wants. And it does that by making you scared of yourself. And this is the most, like, the saddest thing in my heart, that we're constantly struggling with something that is inside of us that is trying us to not be ourselves.
Yeah, so listen. So that's the message today. Stop listening to that.
The ego. Listen to the heart. Listen to the heart.
Listen to the heart. Yeah. So what is the link between presence, joy, and connection?
Oh, they're so intertwined. They all come from together with each other, because the more we're present, the more we have the possibility of experiencing true joy, because joy only lives in the present. When we think about something that makes us very happy, that is like expectation of happiness, and happiness and joy are not even the same thing. Happiness is an emotion, it's still a reaction to something that happens, whereas joy is a state of being from within you. The more present you are and the more empty you are, the more you have the possibility of experiencing your real state. And the more present you are and more empty you are, the highest your chance of connecting to your real self and to everything around you. So they are separate in a way, but they're not. In reality, it's not. Nothing is separate. We separate things just to analyze them, right? In reality, everything is just one. Yeah, but it starts with presence.
It just goes to show that you can choose that state anytime you like.
Oh, yes, it is. It's all up to you. Everything is mind, and it is all our choice. We sometimes don't like to see that. It hurts us as hell to see our choices, but it is our choice.
So for the listeners out there, can you give us some examples or some simple practices for people to increase their joy in just the day-to-day?
One thing I enjoy asking people to do is to have a daily intention when you wake up. What do you want to experience today? I want this day to be together. I want to experience more togetherness with my colleagues, or I want to experience more joy or more laughter, or I would like to just take it lighter. I've been too serious and I would like to take it lighter. So having a daily intention and returning to it a few times a day. So every few hours going back to it, am I still here? Or have I left my intention behind? Because it's so easy for us to misalign. And the exercise of joy is an exercise of keeping yourself with yourself, to not abandon yourself. So any exercise that keeps that alignment will help you with that. The simplest one I can think of is have a daily intention and return to it a few times a day. Another thing I really enjoy is just music, listening to music, putting a music that you love and singing to it and dancing to it, because music is everywhere, but at the same time, it has become background. We listen to music while we do something else. And allowing ourselves to listen, to rejoice, to let that vibration flow through us. Music is super divine. So just sing and dance and experience the joy in the simplest things. Food is another one we mentioned a bit before. To not distract ourselves while we're eating. Whatever is it that you're eating, to not be talking with other people, not being on your phone, not being on the screen. Taste can give you so much sensation. It's present, it's connecting you to your body, to how your body feels, to pleasure. So I love working with the senses as in that sense, because it's information that we're taking it in. We're taking in stuff all the time without fully processing it, and it just stagnates within us. So being more selective and being present with what we're taking in and allowing ourselves to rejoice in that, for me, makes a huge difference.
Like you said, we have, because of the way technology has progressed, because of social media. Yeah, you're right. You're doing one thing and you're doing multiple things at a time. So you're taking away the joy of that specific thing that you're doing in the now.
Yes. And it's even worse than that, because if we start paying attention, we think we do things for pleasure. But if we start paying attention, we are actually just avoid suffering. That's all we're doing. If you all my food examples are with unhealthy food, so next time I'll think about saying about some healthy food instead, but let's keep with the pizza for today. Let's say we really want the pizza, we're craving the pizza, so we just order it, and then we eat that first bite and we start doing something else. We start being on the phones or whatever. Did we really order the pizza out of pleasure to enjoy it, or because craving something we didn't have was uncomfortable, so we ordered it just to cope with a craving? Because the moment that you cope with the craving, you are no longer discomfortable, but you're not eating the pizza for pleasure either. So if we really stop to looking at why we do what we do, we are constantly running away from suffering. We are not looking for pleasure, because craving, and that is why in Buddhism we always say things like just release from desires, because your craving is a source of suffering, because you don't care about enjoying that thing. It's only about releasing the craving, because the craving hurts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I've not thought of it in that way, but yes, that is what you do. This is why. So, for instance, I come from the fitness industry. I left the industry to be an online coach. I gained a lot of weight because I was sat in this chair rather than exercising. And then I lost it consciously. I made a decision, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then lockdown hit. And I used it as, because of, I wasn't personally very fearful of it, but I'm an emotional eater, so I wasn't happy being locked up. Didn't
Understandable.
suit me very well. Yeah, none of us did. Some people actually quite adjusted to it. Okay, so even though I knew I shouldn't be doing it, I was ordering prosecco in. I can't control the outside, but I can control what I eat. So all my healthy, or what I had been, I know what I should be doing, I wasn't doing it. I was ordering pizza. I was ordering food that I was totally against. I was teaching about the ketogenic diet and fasting. I certainly wasn't doing any of that because of this reaction, this emotional. And I don't even really want this necessarily, but it's for that, you're right. It's that moment of, it's the instant gratification. And yes, I'm trying to escape in some mixed up way. I'm trying to escape either the boredom of being stuck in, or rather than actually enjoying. I wouldn't say I was necessarily enjoying the food that I was getting, even if it wasn't very healthy, which is crazy again when you look at it from that point of view. What a mad thing to do. I didn't want the result that it was going to give me. And it's not actually that tasty necessarily, but I was still doing it almost like rebelling against the situation that I was in.
Yeah. Fascinating humans, huh?
Aren't we just? I mean, and not everybody had that experience. Some people went the same way. It's just so funny how we all respond to certain stimuli in different ways, or respond to stress, whereas somebody might reach for the tub of ice cream and others will they won't eat under stress. It's so funny that we've all got our little things that we go to, but if we were actually more present.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have learned this a while ago. I'm a slow learner.
Let's trust it's coming the right time. it is super fascinating in the sense that we are always just reacting to things. We are just on autopilot. And sometimes we can look at it, we watch it, we see ourselves doing, and it's still hard to stop. Like, we are self-aware, but from first we need to develop self-awareness, and then there comes the second stage of actually shifting, which is super huge job. What I find
But
fascinating is that, sorry, yes?
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because all of these emotional reactions that we're having, that we're just reacting to, they are reactions to certain thought patterns. First, we think something is like, this sucks or whatever, and that unleashes an emotional reaction that we want to neutralize by doing something. So we're always coping with our emotions. And our emotions and our thoughts come from our ego. We talk a lot about the mind, but the emotional reactions are also part of the ego, because they are what are taking us out of our alignment by doing the actions that they provoke. We all have real feelings inside of us, feelings of love, feelings of joy, that are very deep feelings, and maybe some very old hurt and suffering that we don't want to look at. When we stop reacting to things, when we get a hand of our thoughts and emotional reactions, we finally get a chance to feel the real feelings that are inside of us. And that is the joy. That is the happiness. No, happiness is not, sorry, wrong word here. This is the joy. That is the love. That is the compassion. That's the acceptance. And all
And
of
is
these are
that our
camouflage.
default? Is that our default setting? Are you saying that is our actual
Yes.
natural default setting? We
Yes,
cover it up with all these other things.
exactly. Exactly. So the more present we are, the less reactive mode we get, the more we get to experience our real feelings, our real energies, which is love, light, and will. That is how I see it. This is what is spirit is funded on. Maybe I'm speaking to some people that are not spiritual at all, but you'll definitely find a good amount of love inside of you. Not the emotional love that we think. It's our love is much deeper. It's not an emotional reaction. It is connection, it is understanding, it is compassion, it is acceptance.
So it's actually really incredibly empowering, because there's so many people that are struggling right now, either mental health or any kind of depression. They've just come into that habit of thought patterns. And if they were only aware that obviously it doesn't happen ding overnight, but like you said right at the beginning, this takes practice,
Yeah.
because we have been conditioned for the thoughts to take over, to actually just spend time 5 minutes a day
Yeah.
in the beginning to just practice. And it's not going to happen overnight, especially if you've just got yourself caught up in all that spiral of chitter chatter in the head. But really what you're saying, or this is what I'm hearing from what you're saying, is, Matt, you master this, then you've mastered your whole well-being, because it is everybody's right. Nobody misses out. Nobody's been cut off they're not on the naughty step, are they? Nobody's been put
Yeah.
on the naughty step, and this isn't available to them. It's available to every single person on the planet.
Yes.
But we have somehow got in a habitual pattern of cutting ourselves off from it.
Yes, we have. And we definitely in this path, you were completely right. And it takes a very long time to master this. And it's okay. What we need there is true self-compassion, because decades of conditioning will not evaporate in a day or 1 month. It is a process, and it's okay. We have to understand this is so ingrained. Think about your age. It's like this amount of programming has to go. And if it can go in 3 years, man, you're doing a great job. It takes time.
And the trouble is, we want it now, don't we?
Yeah.
People want this instant fix.
And that's another trap of the ego. That is ego again trying to prevent you from doing what will bring you back to yourself. All the tools are very simple. If you listen to mindfulness or meditation or many of the spiritual keys, they are simple, and they're simple on purpose because they should be able to be done by anyone. That's the point. Anybody can master themselves. It shouldn't be something that only for advanced yogis. It is for everybody. Because it is easy, our ego says, oh, I don't need to do this. It's too easy. And it's like, that is the major trap. Your ego is trapped. It's like walking around traps. Cannot listen to it. Yeah, it is easy.
There
No,
you
it's
go. Going
actually
back
not
to
that.
that. That's the one thing I'm getting from today's show is stop listening to that. Stop listening to the ego. Stop listening to the
Yeah.
mind chitter chatter. And it is okay. Yeah, people they give up too soon because I can't do this because I can't meditate. And it's like you said, showing yourself a bit of compassion, saying it's okay. You're not going to get it overnight. If you're not going to go from highly in this state of thoughts taking over the stories to practicing mindfulness, practicing being empty, practicing silencing, you might only be able to do it for 10 seconds at a time in the beginning, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's
okay. Tomorrow you do 12 seconds. The following day all of a sudden I've done a minute. Wow, fantastic. You're on the way. But I suppose we have this idea that being successful at something, we've got to master it straight away. But if it's going to be a lifetime habitual pattern, it's part of your daily routine, then man, it's just a journey, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're successful people are successful because they kept going despite the failures. They fell on the ground and stood up and kept on going. Like nobody gets anything first time. It's like extremely rare. If that is the bar, we're setting ourselves up to failure.
We're never going to get there. I'm 51. I'm still figuring it out. I'm not actually 50. I keep saying this. I'm not 51 for a couple of weeks, but I'm already there.
Yeah, I'm there. Go back.
It's just a continual journey. So for you, to the listeners, if they've been thinking, okay, maybe I should give it another go. And if they can't see all your links, if you're watching this, you'll have all your links below. But to the listeners, how could they get started? What is it that you offer people? How can they work with you? And how would they get in touch?
On my website, alineram.com, I have one free program that is 7 days of mindfulness, where you get one practice every day that will help you to connect to different parts of your life in full presence and slowly expand the possibility of being present here now, enjoy. So I suggest you check that out. Take a look at alineram.com/7 as the number 7 days of mindfulness. Brilliant. Yes, that I think is the main one for this topic.
Fantastic. So what's next for you?
What is next for me? I'm in Brazil right now, taking many different classes with my school. I've been in mystery school since I was a teenager, so I'm excited to start giving more classes on sacred geometry and how to heighten in intuition. I'm also creating more online courses to help people to meditate from this yogic approach of understanding the different layers that stop them from meditating, that we don't need to sit and meditate at once, that we can unlock layer by layer and actually progressively get there with more self-compassion and knowledge, really understanding what our obstacles are and how to go around them in a smart way. So those are the main things for me right now.
So there you go. So even for you, this is this ongoing journey. There's still so much to learn. There's always something new to learn. So for you as a coach with what you do, how long have you been in this arena helping people to coach them through meditation and mindfulness? And how long as a coach, how much time do you spend on your business?
So I've been working with people now for 5 years. This is when I started working with other people. Before that, my spiritual journey was only about myself. So this is 5 years working with people, and I am constantly working. And I love my work. I really love my job, and I feel that the more alignment I bring to other people, the more joy I bring into my life, because this is my purpose. Whenever I feel unaligned, I know that I'm not helping enough people to align themselves, because it works straight directly for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite self-development or business, or more on the self-development side? What's your favorite book that you've come across?
I love When Things Fall Apart from Pema Chodron. She's a Buddhist monk, and her teachings are practical, simple, profound, and tough love at the same time. I love how she writes. It's very straight there, and she managed to be compassionate and tough love at the same time. And I
So
highly
this
appreciate.
is where a lot of your stuff comes from. It is from the Buddhist teachings.
So not really. It has been fascinating how much that has been brought up in the talk today. Actually come more from yoga is definitely big in my life, which is Hinduism. And I have trained meditation in the Zen lineage, which is Buddhist lineage. But most of the things that I do, I receive directly from spirit to me. I channel a lot. And I've been in initiatory lineages for a very long time. So many lineages that are connected to classic Tantra, to Egypt, and more mysterious parts of the world, Gnosis and Rosicrucian, so more hidden schools that don't really belong to any of the major schools that we know.
Wow.
So it's not the most traditional path, but that is my path, and I love it. So it is always
Beautiful.
it's always a
That's
surprise
unique
what
to
spirit
you.
wants to be handed. Yeah.
It's unique to you. So what are some of your biggest models or influencers? Do you have them outside of that?
I do look up a lot to the Dalai Lama. He is my inspiration. For me, he is the highest teacher that is in physicality here right now. And every time I think, oh, I do so many days of practice. I always wake up this early in the morning to do all these practices before going to work? And then I think that the Dalai Lama still wakes up every day at 3 a.m. for his practices. Yeah, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. If he does it, I'll definitely have to do it as well. So he motivates me a lot.
So what is your morning ritual, as it were?
Oh, I have so many, and they shift every now and then, but they always include many meditations. They always include yoga, orations, and ritual. I work a lot with energy, more with my own body. So I need to call in different energies. And my work has this aspect that is more related to what most people would call magic. I know many people won't understand the usage of this word, but I call in many energies to the rooms because I also work as a healer. So I also work with people's energetic field, and I need to be in command of the energy of any place that I am in.
So how long do you spend on your morning ritual?
4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to build up to that? Because again, I would say
Okay.
that didn't happen overnight.
No, but the more I started working with people, the more that was necessary, because I need to be able to hold energy for more people. So that is part of the responsibility of service in spirituality. So it comes together with that. I think before that, I was doing 2 hours, and the more I work with people, the more I need to be a stronger vessel.
So do you think that for just everybody, how much of a change to their life in all areas, health, relationships, financial, whatever, if somebody could find a way to slowly build on this, if they were spending 2 hours a day on self-care, which
Oof,
that's what
yeah.
I'm calling it, because that's what it is, isn't it? It's self-care. It's focusing on you before you go out and do. What sort of transformations do you feel people could really see in their lives?
You can take 10, 15 minutes a day and have a massive shift of the awareness that is going to increase in how you relate to everything else that is not in those 15 minutes. Because those 15 minutes will show you a new capacity of connection and joy that you will naturally want to bring to other parts of your day. And that is how we end up increasing practices. It's by seeing their benefits and not because we have to. It's from a place of devotion to ourselves and not from a place I need to be disciplined.
So really, it's almost like the proof is in the pudding, because if
Exactly.
you commit to 15 minutes, you will know, not just, oh, because I've been told I should do this, you will notice the difference in yourself. So you will notice the ripple effect that it has in your life. So you will naturally, why would you not want to do more?
Yeah.
When you feel different. So
Exactly.
it's in the experiencing of it to then go on to do it more. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. We see the fruits of our labor, so to speak. It's like the fruit is there, and then we know, okay, I'll work a little bit more on that because I want more fruits. I like those fruits.
Yeah. There you go. Love it. Look, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you
It's
for having me,
been a
Karen.
pleasure talking to you. One more time, just in case the listeners missed it, because we've talking ahead as well. Your website, Aline Ra M, RAM. Is that right? .com?
Yes, ALINERAM.com. Yes.
Fantastic.
And
so,
if you go like a /free, you're going to find different free resources that you can download there.
Awesome.
Just to make it easier.
So to the listeners, get in touch if this conversation has inspired you to actually maybe, okay, let's start adding these practices in to your daily routine to really notice the real benefit. Thank you to the listeners. I will be back on Thursday with a coffee with Karen. So bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And bye for now.
Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.